Okay, today I'm going to tell you the exact story of how I actually closed my first client, and the reason I want to make a video about this, and this kind of just dawned upon me a few minutes ago, is that you could probably do the exact same thing for yourself, because there's nothing special or secretive about what I did. It was interesting, and I think it'll resonate with you guys, because you guys are probably in a situation similar to where I was if you haven't closed your first client yet, or if you haven't even begun your outreach yet, and you're sort of preparing your systems, or possibly you just started doing outreach and you're like, okay, I'm not closing anybody. Or maybe you're closing them, but they're not showing up. This video is for you guys. If you have closed a few clients already, then I think this will motivate you to make sure that you just end up closing more. Because I'm not gonna lie, as much as service delivery matters, service delivery is hardly ever the problem, okay? Like if service delivery is the problem, spend a few weeks focusing on fine-tuning your system, and then once you do that, just start to scale the system. Once you've put it into action for a few people or for one client, you could usually just amplify it from there. Outreach is the only thing that matters. After outreach is done, then you can think about the latter two things. Then you can think about onboarding them, then you can think about delivering the services for them. But the first thing should be outreach in front of everything. That should trump, that should eclipse everything else in your mind. One day, my partner and I were in the gym, we were working out. This was upon probably doing SMMA for around 4 months. I've been grinding away in front of this computer, just building systems, making templates, presentation, scripts, how I was going to onboard them, studying service delivery, watching a bunch of videos, but that stuff didn't actually matter because that stuff goes out of the window eventually. I mean, it's good to know some things and to have a foundation of knowledge, but what will matter is that you just continuously take action regardless of the result. We both did probably 100 cold calls that first day. We did 100 cold calls, obviously, give or take, it could have been like 105, 90, whatever. Out of 100 cold calls, 20 people pick up, like legitimately. And that sounds insane because that and I know that too looks completely demented, but only about 20 people answer from 100 cold calls. And the reason that is because most people are either not in or they just don't care, they're busy, whatever, all this crap. Out of those 20, I would say about 18 receptionists, okay? 18 of those 20 will be receptionists, meaning there'll be people that just pick up the phone, and I have some beef with receptionists because pretty much 100% of the time they'll either tell you, call back another time, or to write down your information so that they can give it to the business owner. And the reason that doesn't matter is because you will be the lowest on their priority list. They don't care about you, okay? They don't even know who you are. Honestly, the best thing to do is to just try and ask them to put you onto the phone with the owner, and if they say the owner's not there, just hang up. After you do that, I would say about 2 will end up being owners. About 1 of 100 will agree to actually work with you and will agree on your offer. That sounds crazy, and that sounds like a terrible ratio. When you think about it, it makes sense, okay? So this isn't a bad closing rate. That means that out of 2 owners that you talk to, 1 of them will agree to work with you. That's 50% for when you talk to owners. It's just that you don't instantly talk to owners. Doing hundreds of cold calls a day only really means talking to a few owners. So think about it this way. We did 100, and let's say we closed 1 out of 100 on average. Now, it could have been more like 90, and we closed 1 out of 90. Around 100 to 1, that's usually going to be the ratio. The typical ratio for someone that picks up their phone and starts doing cold calls for the first time, that will probably be what it is. Let's say that your ratio is as bad as 500 to 1, right? Which is way worse than 100 to 1, but it's still a ratio to quantify. That would still mean that if you did 1,000 cold calls, hypothetically, you would still close 2 people. Now, that's not that much, right? 2 people out of 1,000, it's peanuts. But the point is that if you do 1,000 cold calls, you will still likely get at least around 2 people closed. How many days are in the week, right? There's 7, but let's just say you take the weekends off, which you shouldn't, but let's just say you do, and there's 5 days. So 5 days, right, that you're doing cold calls. You're doing cold calls Monday through Friday, let's just say. And that would mean that you do 200 cold calls a day, right? So 200 cold calls per day. After 5 days of doing 200 cold calls per day, you would still close 2 clients. That's pretty worth it if you just have to grind for a week and do 200 cold calls a day. Now, 200 cold calls a day, you could split that up however you want. Maybe you could do, 50 in the morning before you go to work or school or whatever, and then after all that, in the afternoon, maybe before you go to bed, you could do 100, and then you could fit in the other 50 during like lunch breaks and stuff. If it was 100 to 1, our ratio was around 100 to 1. Again, out of doing 500 cold calls, we'd obviously close 5 clients. So if we did it for 5 days in a row, you'd close 5 clients. So if this is your ratio, which it will likely be this, 500 to 1 is kind of nuts. If your ratio is 500 to 1, then that's probably a different issue that we should be talking about. But the point is that it will likely be 100 to 1. That means you'll probably close 5 clients out of 5 days of cold calling. That's it. Think about that. So most of you guys, if you don't have any clients, you're likely not going to be able to handle 5 clients right off the bat, especially with go eye level and stuff. So I would assume that it would probably only take you as short as a few days to close first client. so beautifully written here, but I guarantee that if you do 100 cold calls a day, you will close your first client within a few days. And that's the only thing you should be thinking about instantly. Now, after you get that call and after someone says, okay, yeah, let's meet for a presentation, this is when it then becomes a bit more complicated. People will do outreach, and again, I would recommend cold calling and cold DMs. Cold emails is good too, I just haven't done it, so it could be, but I haven't done it as much. If you do that many cold calls, out of that, one person will go from cold calling to presentation out of 100 calls, right? Do 100 and you'll get one person to come to the presentation. Them actually showing up from the cold call to the presentation is different than them just saying yes. This is why we remind them. This is what a lot of people mess up on. So in this process, in between the cold call and the presentation, to come over here, I would even recommend texting them every single day if they're not responding. If they're responding and saying, yes, sounds good, then let them be. But the point is like, follow up as much as possible. And on the day of, call them a few hours before if they haven't responded. And if they still haven't responded all the way up until the actual meeting time, then call them at the time of the meeting and spam them. Spam their phone, hit their line, and just spam them as much as humanly possible. Even get like your friends to call them. Go insane. That's what we were doing, is we were calling them on both of our phones. Because oftentimes, it's just because they either forgot or it's because they are like lazy or something. But if you just call them enough, they'll end up picking up. It's kind of like, you know, if you're lazy and you don't want to hang out with one of your friends or something, and they'll call you enough, you'll answer, you'll end up answering, or you'll make some weird excuse. The point is you'll interact. So just spam them because they technically agreed to meet with you. It's professional. They're supposed to show up. So spam them at the time of the meeting. Once they show up, then you get them to the presentation, right? When it comes to the presentation, the conversion is way different than cold calls. It's like you could do 100 cold calls and only get one. With presentations, you could do out of 10, you'll probably get at least 8. Do the follow-ups, and then from the presentation, close them by, again, having a great offer, having a guarantee. I don't know if I spelled that right, but the point is have a guarantee. If you have a guarantee, there's pretty much at least an 8 out of 10 chance that you close them. Likely even a 10 out of 10 though, because I mean 10 out of 10 every single time. But the point is that we've had 6 and we've closed 6. Now, we're not working with 6 clients right now simply because we have too many people. We have too many people that we can work with. That's the best problem to have ever. If you could get yourself to do enough cold calls, I know now there's just a bunch of writing on my screen. You're probably like, what the hell is this guy showing me? The point is, if you do enough cold calls, with enough volume, you'll close enough people. From those people, if you follow up, you'll get them on the presentation, and I guarantee you within a few days of just doing this, you will likely get your first client. And then I would recommend sending them like a Zoom meeting or like a Google Meet or something, and then just from there, just following up and making sure that they show up. Again, have the guarantee in place, and the guarantee will sell yourself. After that, this is where it gets a bit more complex. Now it's about onboarding. Now, once you enter the onboarding process, it is about sending them an onboarding drive. Now, this is what we messed up on. We didn't send them an onboarding drive until like a week after because we didn't have ours prepared. So if there's one thing that I would recommend preparing, it would be this. Immediately after the presentation, send them the onboarding drive and just say, did you get it? So that before they leave, they're like, yeah, I got it, to my email. In this onboarding drive, you want it to contain the contract, the survey, the survey that asks them like sort of questions, niche specific questions, and then how to share your calendar. So you'll show them a video. You'll have a video in that folder that explains how they could share the calendar with you, and then also have a video that explains how to allow you access to their Meta account. If you do these 4 things, and then you just put it in a Google Drive and you share them access with it and then put them on view only, the onboarding process will be smooth like butter. After that happens, you have the onboarding call. It's a quick like 20-minute call usually, that you just agree on a pricing and an ad offer. So you just talk about, okay, well, let's do a 20% off discount. Let's offer these services. Let's make sure that we're going to present it with this sort of creative idea, as well as making sure that they connect their Facebook and their Stripe account to your software, GoHighLevel. Now, some of you guys might not even know what GoHighLevel is, or some of you guys might not be using GoHighLevel, which then in that case, again, some of these things don't apply to you, but I would really recommend getting GoHighLevel. And if you are, you can use my affiliate link because I have like a free Snapchat that you guys get along with it that you guys could use for your clients, and you'll have all the automations, etc. You could DM me if you want to talk about that. But anyways, let's get into the delivery, which is, I'm going to make the delivery as simple as possible. This is like a really puny diagram. The service delivery is as simple as this. You're just configuring their Facebook account, you're setting up pixels, you're making sure they're verified, and that you're making sure the ad account is set up. Maybe you'll have to make a new ad account for them if they've never advertised before. If they have, then you just use their pre-existing ad account. Once you've done this stuff, then you could refine this system. You want to get good at doing outreach. You want to make sure that you have the ability to close clients from doing cold calls and cold DMs and cold emails. And then you want to get good at doing the onboarding. This is the stuff that you're going to actually be doing to run your business. What you'll do, most of your time will be allocated to, is not the delivery part. You're just launching ad campaigns, and then you're creating systems within the software of GoHighLevel, which is what I recommend, to make sure that it's automated so you can scale it. So the things that you're doing is that you're just going to end up doing a lot of outreach, and then you're gonna have to onboard a lot of clients. And if you could do these 2 things, then you'll be golden, right? And that's the point. This part is a system that you should work on and refine for the first few months of your journey, but once you refine the service delivery, now it's just about scaling it, right? Now it's just about scaling it up and up and up and up. These two parts are the only things that you'll need to do to keep your business growing. It's crazy. I just created an art piece over here, a piece of modern art right here. But after you do those two things, just refine your service delivery process, which again, this is dependent on your niche. I don't know exactly what you're doing because some of you guys will be doing SEO, short form content. After this, it's just about creating and running your ads, which I would recommend doing that on Canva, free to use website. And then from there, again, you're just using your Go High Level system to follow up with leads and book them in your client's calendar. That's SMMA, like in a nutshell, that's kind of what it is. I know it sounds like I'm oversimplifying it a bit. If you go from outreach to onboarding to service delivery and you do it in this linear process, I guarantee you, you'll end up closing clients immediately and you could get your first client within the next few days, within the next week. Yeah, without further ado, thank you for watching this video. I wanted to just show you the system. I know I was just rambling on a lot, but the point is that it can be this simple to close your first client. This is the story of how I closed my first client, and this is how you could do the exact same. I want you to succeed. I know you can. If you do want actual like full-on agency help with like every part of the system, we do give you guys everything. So every outreach material, every onboarding material, every service delivery material when it comes to Facebook, Go High Level, and telling you how to collect payments in the subscription in the Discord server. You could click the link below in the description and you could see that there's a subscription that you could join if you want. If not, you could join the free Discord, convene with everybody in there, because I'm telling you, they will help you and it will speed run your journey tenfold. So thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you guys, and I will see you guys in the next one. All love.